Well, hey folks, and welcome to Homesteader News Solar Cabin channel. Just sitting here on my porch, enjoying my garden and enjoying the morning. And I remember that some people asked me what kind of stuff I grow in my garden. I did a video on my salad garden before, but it's been a while, so I thought I'd just show you what I do for some salad greens. I used to grow a big garden, and I still recommend a good-sized garden if you got a family. But where it's just me here at the cabin most of the time, my girlfriend lives in town. She has her own place and her own garden, so I don't really need to grow a very big garden anymore. But I still like my salad greens. I like my tomatoes, I like my lettuce, I like my peppers, and so I still grow a small garden. But I've tried to make it as easy as possible for me because I don't like spending a lot of time weeding. I don't like spending a lot of time digging in the dirt, and I'm a no-till farmer. I don't like to till up the soil because that causes erosion from the wind and the rain. So what I use are garden boxes, and my garden boxes sit right out in front of my cabin. Instead of a front lawn, I have a small garden. This is what it looks like. Okay, I've got two 3-foot boxes that are 10 foot or 12 foot long. I think they're 10 foot long. Okay, and these sit right out front of my porch here so that I can just walk out and pick my vegetables when I'm ready to eat. The other benefit is if I've got them right here close to my porch, I'm a lot more likely to get out there and work in them and weed them. If they were out in my field, I'd probably neglect them a lot more. So because they're right here and people are going to walk past them and I see them every day, I'm a lot more likely to get in here and weed them and take care of them. Now we got kind of a late start this year because of the weather. I'm about a month behind on my planting. Normally these plants would all be about a month farther ahead than they are. But we had snow a month late, clear up into end of May, and so it kept things from being planted in the ground as early as we'd normally get. But what I've got here is I've got tomatoes, and I put in 4 early boy tomatoes, or best boy tomatoes. These only take about 60 days. Normally I would get tomatoes that would take a little bit longer, produce a little bit more fruit, but because I'm a month behind, I selected these best boy tomatoes because they only take 60 days to mature. And then I've got a pepper plant there. That's an habanero pepper plant because I like hot peppers on stuff. And then I've got a crookneck squash down there. Then I got a cucumber plant down there. And then these plants that you see around here that are blooming out, you can see right here, those are marigolds. And I always plant marigolds around the outside border of my garden bed because marigolds are a natural pesticide producer. They produce an oil and a smell that insects don't like. And so if you put those around your garden beds, you'll have less insect problems on your vegetables. And I've never had tomato worms and a lot of the other pests just because I plant those marigolds along there. And for a couple of bucks you can get a couple of 6-pack flats of marigolds, so that's a pretty cheap investment, and that way I don't have to use pesticides, because I don't like pesticides on my vegetables. The whole purpose of growing your own vegetables is you can avoid some of those pesticides and things that they put into your store-bought food. In my other box over here, I got 2 different types of tomatoes. I've got a what they call a beefsteak tomato, and it's already got some tomatoes on it down there. You can see it's got 3 tomatoes coming on it. These have a really heavy, thick vine stem, and so you got to stake them up. Now you can see I use tomato baskets, and then I've also got a stake inside this one to hold it up there, because this thing will just get loaded with huge tomatoes, and those tomatoes will, one tomato slice will take up a whole sandwich. They're that big, but they take a little bit longer. They take about 80 days to grow. But I got this one as partially mature. It already had some small tomatoes on it when I got it from the nursery, so I actually got a head start on this one. And then this one down here, this is a yellow skin tomato. I don't remember exactly what the brand is, but it's a yellow tomato. Yellow tomatoes have a little bit less acid than red tomatoes, and so I like them in a salad, and so I've got a yellow tomato in there. And then I've got my marigolds around the outside border here, and then I've got a cantaloupe plant in here, and then I've got another, or let's see, I think that there is actually a cucumber plant. And then I've got some cantaloupe plants and what the heck is this? A Crenshaw melon, which is another type of cantaloupe, but it's a Crenshaw. And I don't normally grow Crenshaw, so I'm trying that one out to see how it does this year. My cantaloupes, I usually get 2 or 3 fruit off of each vine. And then I've got some more pepper. There's another type of pepper. That's a grilling pepper. And you can actually just slice those in half, put them right on your barbecue with your steak and grill them up, and they taste delicious. So that's what I've got in my garden. Quite a few tomatoes, because I eat a lot of tomatoes. Normally I would have lettuce in my garden beds, but I was late getting my lettuce in, so I didn't put any lettuce in this year. But normally I put red leaf lettuce in here too. And that's my salad garden that I can just come and pick some fresh vegetables and eat them in the fall. Usually around September I start getting a lot of production from these. My pepper plant's already got some peppers on it, so I'll start getting peppers off that. See if we can get around there. You can see it's already got a little pepper on it down there. And so it'll start producing real heavy here. Pretty soon I'll start having peppers. Some of these other plants, they won't produce until the fall, but in the fall is when I generally start getting quite a bit of production off these. Now, I don't waste a lot of money on growing a garden. I usually spend about $20 on plants each year. $20–25 on plants. And that's what will fill up these beds. And you can grow them from seeds. If you've got the time and a nice warm spot in a window, you can promulgate your own seeds and produce your plants just from those. But it takes longer, and a lot of times they're more spindly than the varieties that are grown in a hothouse. So a lot of times I will go down and get these plants already planted for me. Saves me a little time, but it does cost a little bit more money. But for about 20 bucks, I can completely fill these boxes up with some nice fresh produce, and it will produce well over $200 worth of produce just off of those 2 boxes. Excuse me. And I don't plant real heavy. You could plant these a lot heavier than I do. I like to be able to get in and weed easy, so I don't plant them real thick and heavy in here. But you could double what I've got in these boxes easy and produce $400 worth of fresh produce without pesticides in it right in front of your house with just a couple of raised boxes. And these are just made for some recycled wood, 2x8s that I picked up. I don't even remember where I got them, and just screwed together at the corners with some extra block bracing in the corners. Then just filled up with some good topsoil, some vermiculite, and I usually put peat moss in every year. Now this year I didn't do anything to these boxes because I refilled them back up last year, so I'll usually only have to amend my soil every 2 years. I usually only have to amend my soil every 2 years, so I didn't have to do anything to this soil this year, and it's producing very well. I may put a little bit of compost on top of these just to feed the plants. Other than that, you just need to water them. And watering, I usually water every other day or about every 3 days. I stick a finger in the soil. If the soil's wet, I leave it alone. If the finger comes back out dry, then it's time to water. And because these are in raised boxes, they don't take as much water as if you just had them in the ground. So that's another reason. Now, if you've never gardened before, this is probably the fastest and easiest way to get going is with raised boxes. I really recommend you try a garden. You don't have to have a lot of room. You can even grow them in pots. You can see I've got some stuff planted in those big pots up there too, just flowers, but you could put vegetables or whatever in those. And if you got kids especially, get them out and get them gardening, because it's just a wonderful fun thing to do with your kids and family, watching things grow. It's also an excellent opportunity to teach them some lessons about the birds and the bees and how plants get fertilized and how the environment works to feed us. So there's a lot of lessons and experience in gardening that you could share with your children. Even if you don't get a great big bountiful garden, okay, the fact that you can produce some tomatoes for yourself that actually have taste. If you ever tasted store-bought tomatoes and then tasted a farm fresh tomato, you would really know the difference. Nothing compares to a farm fresh tomato. You don't have pesticides on it. It has so much more flavor than a grocery store tomato you wouldn't believe. So at least grow you some tomatoes. But you can put this other stuff in pots. You don't have to have a raised bed if you don't want, but raised beds are a lot easier. Okay, so that's my little salad garden. And it's doing well. I expect to get quite a bit produced off of it this year, and hopefully when I start harvesting my tomatoes and stuff like that, and as they start growing, I'll keep you updated on how my garden did this year. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Have a great day.